Dale was a writer and dancer, and he went to school in Denver before moving to Los Angeles with, big dreams of becoming a famous novelist. And he was pretty successful. He had 3 novels published in his lifetime, and one of them even got made into a movie in the 70s. One night on Friday, March 21st, 1952, Dale was walking down the street in LA. He's just minding his own business. He stops and he goes into a public bathroom near a place called Westlake Park. And at this time, it was known as a cruising spot. Now, according to Dale, he just goes in to use the bathroom and then he leaves. But when he does, there's a tall man who was following him. Now, Dale's walking and he's freaked out a bit, but he just tries to ignore this man. So he starts going towards the movie theater. And instead of going inside, Dale thinks, I'll just go home and then maybe this guy will just kind of leave me alone. So he's walking and he makes his way back to the apartment, but this freaking creep is still following him. Yeah, stalker, right? Run, bitch, run. So Dale starts to pick up the pace. At this point, he's worried that this guy might try to rob him, rape him. He doesn't know, but this ain't right. So Dale makes it back to his apartment, but this guy manages to follow him inside the building. He ends up breaking into Dale's apartment. Now, Dale trying to stay calm, but this intruder starts acting weird right away. He's not a normal intruder. He's a different intruder. This intruder goes and lays down on Dale's bed. First of all, don't you want to rob me first? What? But he lays down on Dale's bed and he's demanding Dale have sex with him. Dale's what the hell is going on? So Dale yells at this man to get out, but the man, he refuses. It's have sex with me. So the intruder gets up off of the bed and walks right up to Dale, and he grabs Dale's hand and tries to force it down his pants. Dale is resisting and is yelling at him to get the hell out. What are you doing? Get out, right? So as soon as the intruder gets a good grip on Dale's hand, he then pulls out handcuffs and slaps them on Dale's wrists. I know, I was whoa. But Dale realizes that this was an undercover cop. What? He arrests Dale, and he marches Dale outside and forces him into a police car. Now, inside the car, 2 officers, they start making fun of Dale and threaten to beat him up. So they got him in the car and they're slowly driving around town, interrogating him about his job and his life, while he's in the car. And Dale just totally helpless. They drive around the park a couple more times before finally taking Dale to the police station. And while he's there, he gets charged with lewd vagrancy, which is essentially waiting around and looking for sex. Now, this was the most common charge that came along with entrapment. Then for a couple of hours after this, Dale wasn't allowed to make any phone calls. And when he finally is, he calls the Mattachine Society. So mind you, it's 3 a.m. And they managed to scrape together some money to bail Dale out. And finally at 6:30 a.m., Dale leaves. He tells the Mattachine Society everything that just happened. In the 50s, if you were a gay man caught by entrapment and charged with a lewd vagrancy, you did nothing. You would pay the fine and just accept the charge. Yes, a lot of the times that meant admitting to something that you just did not do. But the alternative was to take the case to court, and that was expensive. It took a long time, and it was almost impossible to get the charge overturned. And on top of that, you'd most likely have to somehow prove that you weren't gay, and you risked outing more of your friends in the process, maybe even yourself. It was just a big old mess. The legal system was just not on your side. Now, since there was usually no jail time for lewd vagrancy, you could move on from the whole incident pretty quickly. You just would hope that no one looked into your record. But Dale knew that he didn't deserve what happened to him. So at the next meeting of the Mattachine Society, Dale announces that he wants to fight back. So some people applaud him. They're hell yeah, screw that cop. Take him to court, fight it. But not everyone was ready for him to be bold and public, because remember, the Mattachine Society was very secretive. So in the process, their names might be outed. you know? So they vote to create a mini organization called Citizens Committee to Outlaw Entrapment. So they use this committee to raise funds and support for Dale's case. So they printed flyers and they handed them out all around town. I mean, they were putting flyers on the beach, the bookstores, and cruising spots, anywhere they could get a flyer into someone's hands. People then would start to write letters in support of Dale. Some people would even send in money for Dale's legal aid, and the whole case became bigger than Dale could have ever imagined. People were determined to not let the government ruin yet another person's life. So Dale looks for a lawyer, and he finally finds one named George Shibley. So in July 1952, Dale's case showed up in court. His lawyer argues against the charge, and he's feisty. Dale actually admits to the judge that yes, he's a gay man. Full stop. Honestly, nobody was expecting that. Shibley argued that Dale did nothing wrong, saying, quote, "The only perverts in this courtroom is the arresting officer," unquote. Oh shit, snaps. So when the jury deliberates, all but one of them is ready to clear Dale's name. But there was one person who had major, lock him up energy, and this ended up in a hung jury because of this one guy. Now, normally this would mean a retrial, but the district attorney refuses. I guess it was close enough, and Dale walks free. Now, it might have happened because of a technicality, but in the end, it's a victory. Now, we're bringing this up because this is the first time anyone has ever beaten the system of entrapment. It's considered the first victory for gay rights in the United States.